Incoming transmission from the future. Vancouver AI Community Meetup.
I'm about to invite Lionel Ringenbach up here. He has exhibited 3 things over the 2 years he's been with us. The first thing was a really cool AI prompting device where instead of prompting it, you put images in front of its eyeballs and then it would blend those things together and generate new things from it. Then he came back and he was like, yo, I'm not even sure about the power and impact, the energy. He went for a vacation and he left his computer trained and he's like, I don't even actually know how much energy it's gonna use. And so that began a really in-depth, long-term conversation in this community about the true impact of all this stuff. Not just in terms of power or water or culture, as this comes to Anthony, but jobs and all sorts of things. We've been asking the hard questions. So anyway, without too much further ado, I just want to draw a straight line. Come on up, Lionel. I want to draw a line between the conversation you invited us into around power and water and this panel that we're about to have here tonight. So welcome, buddy. I'm happy to have you back. I'm happy that these benches are here because you usually like to try to hide in the dark, and I would like to encourage you to stand here in the light. All right, Lionel Ringenbach.
Hello, everyone. So I'm Lionel. I'm going to talk tonight a bit of an update from the last time on what is up with AI. So what with 2 T's, funny. And I'm going to talk about open source a little bit also in that discussion and what kind of impact has AI on open source today. So that was the last time. That was the episode 2 of What's Up with AI, where I talked about WhatsApp and project that I developed, which is a GitHub Copilot version that actually tells you about and kind of memorize all the requests you've made and gives you a little bit of estimation of what is the equivalency of this energy use, etc. Just so you have a bit of an idea. And to give a bit of a summary of what is WhatsApp, or the goal of that project is to kind of measure the energy use of AI tools, so you can monitor inside tools that are either in a far distance or on your computer. And also to build a certain language to interpret what does that even mean? How do we make it tangible? And finally, that will be the final goal of WhatsApp, or really the goal is how do we act on this and what do we do about it? Is there anything we can actually do? So I did present that project at MUTEC this year in Montreal, and that's where I developed a new tool that I will show you tonight. So this summer, OpenRouter, if you don't know it, OpenRouter is one of the biggest provider for AI, LLMs, and even image generation now. If you want to integrate with a plethora of LLMs without to directly interact with OpenAI, then OpenRouter is a great choice because you can easily switch from one model to another. And one thing they did this summer is that they created a leaderboard. No, no problem. This leaderboard here, where we can see the number of tokens that have been used this week here. We see this week, even it shows also for the past months across different providers and different models, and they'll even tell us over time what it looks like. And so I thought that's a great occasion to kind of, maybe we can add some data on this. So, yeah. I built WhatsApp for OpenRouter, which basically scrapes their web page because they don't offer an API. So I did what I could. Sometimes it breaks. And used Ecologit, which is another tool, open source tool, that allows you to do estimation based on how many tokens were produced, how long was the request, what is the size of the model. So here, this tool allows you to tell, for example, this month, how many gigawatts of energy were used and what is the projected gas emission, CO2 emissions. And soon you will also know about how much water has been potentially used for creating all these workloads. So it's really not about trying to blame or to make it, or shame or to say this is bad, but to really say, here's what it is, and to actually be aware of it. And to continue trying to work towards that, so we have an idea: is it getting better? Is it getting worse? And in that tool, also built in some equivalencies, so we can have an idea. Also, what does that even mean? There is other screens on it where you can see, for example, how many kilometers in a car it is, or things that are a bit more relatable. Can you go to the next screen? And through this, I started working a little bit on the second step of that project, which is to be interpreting this data. Some other project already did some work. For example, the AI impact tracker here that you can install in Chrome that tells you information about your ChatGPT usage. This is very specific to ChatGPT and continuously monitors your usage in Chrome. It stays local for you. And so from there, they develop some kind of language of environmental equivalence. So we have an idea of what does that even mean. And so in WhatsApp for GitHub Copilot, I kind of started reusing that with also like the famous how many hours of running a microwave. And in WhatsApp for Open Router, a bit more of equivalencies. Knowing also that sometimes those equivalencies is a bit difficult because there is an equivalency for the energy use, an equivalency for the carbon emissions, for the water that is used, but they're not all precise. So I'm still kind of working through that to kind of really delineate and maybe build a framework for WhatsApp that could be used for all the tools. And here I'm going to talk about Ecologits, which is the tool that I use in Open Router in both of those tools. Ecologit is a project developed open source, and they have made a big improvement in their methodology, which also integrates water consumption. And also, they have really improved the accuracy of the model estimation of how many parameters in a model, and also for open source model, what is the actual energy use of these models. Also including things such as like the water usage of a certain data center. So you have an idea also, for example, the power efficiency. If it comes from Google, if it comes from AWS, you can have different efficiencies. And a bit of a good news, Google published an energy report recently as a paper, which is measuring the environmental impact of delivering AI at Google scale. Finally, yeah, that's great. It's a good move. That's a good move. It's actually a positive thing to see, and hopefully we will see more and more companies doing that. So it's the first methodology that's very holistic. It shows on the right side, as part of the paper, a screenshot that it takes into account really a lot of the life cycle of a server that's running AI, not just like the chip utilization, but also all the way to when machines are idle, or like the overhead of running a data center. And this methodology can be used by other companies and other data centers to do the same and do a more precise measurement that is actually really taking the entire data center. It's not just about estimating how much the GPU use, but how much does it cost to run that whole thing. And there is some interesting part. They determine that it takes 0.24 watt-hour per prompt and 5 drops of water per prompt, which is interesting, but it's kind of problematic in some way because those measurements that they define as standard are not comparable. Because it's per prompt means it's like very hard for you to compare to another company if they were doing it, because a prompt is not the really unit of measurement of AI. When it produces, the token is the real measurement. So hopefully we'll see new paper coming up with measurable and comparable values, and hopefully companies don't continue using that value because that's not very useful to actually know if we're doing better.
You came here and compared them in terms of microwaves when you
Fair. And another thing that it's great that they did this, but while they're doing this, they have Google Veo. It's a really big model, and this is one area where we really don't know. Can you go next, please? And so, open 2-3 minutes. Okay. So open source is really the reason why we know all this. There would be no data on this matter, and Google probably wouldn't step forward to do this otherwise. And right now, all the larger flagship models don't tell us anything about their use, and they are the big ones, the one that's really interesting and juicy. And there is almost no data on video models today, and that's very important because those we have quite a good intuition, I think, that they would be using a lot more than text models, and absolutely nothing on world models. And those are very cool models, but also the energy use, we have no idea. And there's no open source world model as far as I know, so we can't really tell. And user privacy is kind of crumbling because we use more and more of that closed AI. Because think about the question that you were asking when you use a search and what kind of things you tell to ChatGPT, because it's a chat. It's very different. And so I'm going to talk a bit of a project, open source project, for example, the curl project. It's a very important project that runs the internet in so many ways. It's basically how a lot of software make requests to servers. And recently, the maintainer has wrote this article, Death by a Thousand Slop, where they started receiving on HackerOne. HackerOne is a platform where you can post vulnerabilities that you find about software, and they can give you money back for finding actual problems. But recently, in July, they spent 8 times more time on vulnerability report, but actually only 5% of those reports are legitimate. So they're basically spending time on reports that are absolutely not reproducible. They're completely hallucinated. So that's a bit of a problem. And that's kind of like really overloading open source that is already running on low funds usually.
So you're talking about hackers seeking bounties are using Claude Code and shit like this to try to find, vulnerabilities in curl, but they're not there. They're hallucinating them, they're submitting them anyway, and they're wasting all the people resources of the open source project, parsing between real commits and fake commits.
Exactly, and the blog is very interesting. Please read it because they give details about it. It's really interesting that they converse on the HackerOne with actually AI, and it's really weird. Can we go to next, please? And that's another project, FFmpeg. It's a different problem, but it's also an open source project. It's a very important project because it runs all the streaming online. YouTube, Netflix, think about any streaming platform uses FFmpeg in some way. And Google Big Sleep, which comes from Google DeepMind, is a very big system that is very good at finding vulnerabilities and actually making real vulnerabilities true vulnerabilities actually and publishing them. But their policy is that if within 90 days you haven't fixed it, we will reveal it. So now there are tons of projects that are open source that need to have like this ticking bomb from Google that is $1 trillion company, where there's company like open source project that don't have much funds and certainly no time to execute so fast on vulnerabilities. And all of a sudden they get 20 vulnerabilities. Some of them are actually not really exploitable. And what do? Because in 90 days, they will have actual vulnerabilities like revealed in product that we all use. And they don't have a time to fix it. See how this could be very discouraging for open source maintainers to continue maintaining those projects. So recently, OpenAI had this token consuming award, which is very interesting because they actually rewarding people for consuming 1 trillion token. Is that the right incentive? What are we gamifying here? What is this gamification? So can we go to the next? And so I kind of done an estimation. I did an estimation what does a 1 trillion token is actually, and so here are the numbers. And for example, is the energy use of 52,000 household daily energy use, that's 1 trillion token, or 3.5 million kilometers driven in a car. Not saying it's good, it's bad, but here what it is. Probably some of you have received that award, but that's okay. I'm not blaming you. I understand, but it's like what are they trying to reward? It's kind of interesting. And we can go to next, and that will be it. That's the award. That's the award now.
Well, I mean, it's actually, I want to both be conscientious of time, but also expansive. And so it's like, well, you know what they're rewarding with that award. They're saying that there is work that is being done, valuable work of some sort that's being done, and they're trying to optimize. They're not just like, who can blow 1 million tokens down the toilet and give you an award. Those people are trying to do useful things such as science, research, healthcare, video games and entertainment.
I agree with you. I'm not saying the award is like completely bad or people using token is bad. What I'm saying is that what is it being rewarding? Because they clearly took this from YouTube, which is a democratic system where people actually subscribe to community videos that they actually enjoy versus something that is actually paid, literally paid for. And now the number of tokens consumed does not bind to value delivered. Like a revenue of a company does not mean it's actually delivering value. That is the thing. But definitely, meaning that we're using token to do something useful is true, but is that the measurement of value? Probably not. I don't know what is the measurement of that value. community can say it with different ways, but it's not revenue or token used.
And it's as our conversations go deep on, it's like until you can even see what you're using those million tokens for in terms of impact, how do you ever make a choice between a better performing system in terms of impact or a worse performing system? Like you have no choice, you have no ability to even see those things. So monitoring your usage is the first step, I think, towards hitting targets and reduction ultimately.
Exactly, and that goes right into the award. So I was thinking about this thing. What if we turned this onto its head and actually created an award for saving tokens? So maybe we can do something with BC plus AI, actually, and an award is part of this. But the idea is like, what if you here have found a way to save 1 million, 10 million, 100 million token? It doesn't really matter what the tier is, but let's say you saved 1 million token this month by doing something. Please let us know about it. Let's write about it. Let's talk about it, and let's share it back to the community so we can actually make progress toward, like, not using less of AI, but make a more sober use of it and not just like wasting tokens, but actually have an award that is worse, that is going to actually like really contribute back to the community in a positive way.
Yeah, in business talk, they say if you want to change the outcomes, you change the incentives. Well, how about we give out awards for, how many tokens you can save instead of how many tokens you can use? And nice one, Lionel.
Yeah. And there are some flyers on the outside if you want to subscribe to the newsletter of WhatsApp or see the website, see how you can contribute or contact me. Please pick up a flyer on the way out. And
Yes, sir, in the back.
Hi, thanks for the presentation. I'm Raghav. I own an AI firm. I founded in March of this year. So I was kind of intrigued by one of the comments that you had in the slide that user information is crumbling with closed AI. How do you define closed AI first? And then because your premise for the presentation was open source, how do you interpret open source to actually not do the same?
So I guess there is many interpretation of open source that is true. When I talk about closed AI and privacy, I talk about AI that you cannot run on your computer, for example, that you wouldn't be able to run on your own hardware, that you have to actually send your data to a company for it to process it for you and gives you an answer, as opposed to something you can host locally and you can be sure that your privacy is preserved. Usually those models are open source. I don't know of any like private source model that ships on your computer so far, even though that's probably on your iPhone, but these are the different type of AI.
Yeah, I won't beleaguer the point, but clearly, open source software, we can all write tools and monitoring stuff on top of it. Closed proprietary systems, you never know what's going on under the hood. I mean, traditional definition. Any other burning questions for Lionel? Comments? Yes, sir.
Thank you. I have a quick question and then also a comment. First question, when you did the CO2 emissions calculation, I'm just curious, was there a way to figure out if the energy was actually coming from a renewable source or did you just assume it was 100% fossil fuel based? And is there a way to kind of change that depending on where it's actually coming from, the data processing? And then I like the comment on incentivizing saving tokens, but I think right now a lot of these companies are that are selling this computational time and capacity are making money from that. So they're incentivizing usage because they make more money from that. But I think if we're going to incentivize saving, then I guess it would be cool to find a way to actually monetize that saving as well. So there's a financial backing for it too.
Sorry, remind me your first question was CO2 emission. Okay, how is it calculated? So in this case, I use the world electricity mix. The tool Open Router, WhatsApp for Open Router, you actually have a setting somewhere where you can choose that energy mix. I'm planning to improve it so that based on the different provider you have, you know which energy mix is tapping into. So you can say it's going to be maybe Anthropic is going to be USA, and if different places you'll have different energy mix. But there's a tool, there's a way you can change that in the UI as a settings that you can try to simulate. Like in WhatsApp for Open Router, I don't know each model's parameters, so I just defined it as 20 billion parameters in average for everything. So if you crank this to 40, it will be a lot more. So that's how it's kind of evaluated. There are some assumption of what energy mix or billion of parameters at the moment, but we can improve this over time by trying to, And your second question that I forgot was about...
It was a comment
on the monetization of like those awards, right? Or kind of like giving a good incentive. And I agree with you, like everybody's running right now. It's an actual global stampede of AI. Like, Google didn't want to run at first, but OpenAI did it. So Google started running, everybody's running, and we are all trying to...
Let's go as fast as we can.
Exactly.
Where are we going? I don't know, but let's go fast.
And I hear a lot that this is inevitable, but I disagree with it. I think it's inevitable. We just don't have to contribute to it. We can slow down. We're not going to miss anything. There's nothing to be missed on. Of course, if we think about money, we're going to miss on some money, that's for sure. But as humanity, I don't know if by going faster, we're going to earn something more. So I don't have a way to... I'm just thinking about this award. How can we make this award more interesting? But to me, the reward is that we get to contribute to the larger community by sharing our findings, of really trying to, know what we're doing with this.
Yeah, man. Thank you. You've been challenging us since the very beginning. Lionel is a first-order programmer. He's a first-order artist. He's a first-order thinker. If you're interested in this stuff, connect with Lionel. Good job, man. Thank you, sir. Have you ever been the warm-up band for somebody else? Lionel, have you ever been the warm-up band?
What is a warm-up band?
The band that goes on before the main band to get the crowd in the right spirit?
No, but I guess that's it.
Congratulations.